When it comes to upcoming Doors entities, none are quite as well documented as the Batmoths. These little critters have been showcased numerous times throughout the teaser trailers for the mines, and today I thought of compiling all of the information presented to us about them in one video. We'll be going over their appearance, behaviors, and functionality, as well as some predictions of how they may work when they do get released. Although we know much about this entity, there's still some speculation involved. I don't want to keep you waiting any longer, so with all of that being said, let's begin. Alrighty, so let's first discuss what the Batmoth looks like. After all, how are we able to tell what it is without knowing its appearance? Although note that the Batmoth isn't the official name of this entity, it is merely a placeholder. However, that still doesn't mean it isn't useful. The Batmoth, as its placeholder name suggests, is an entity which is sort of a mix of a bat and a moth. Now, due to this entity's small size, we can't really get a good look at it. However, fortunately, images were leaked of its up-close model, which I'll put up on the screen right now. It has antennae like a moth, and has wings like one too. However, it also has bat-like ears and teeth. It has mostly gray skin with two glowing eyes, which can be seen even in the darkest environments. In fact, their eyes are probably the most recognizable trait, as it is what sticks out about their appearance the most. Make sure you look out for their glowing eyes, as that is how you can mostly easily notice their existence. Moving on, how do Batmoths behave and function? Well, based on the Floor 2 trailers, we were actually able to tell a lot about what this entity does. For one, they are never alone. Every time you encounter a Batmoth, there are always several more around it. They are always found in swarms. Additionally, these swarms seem to move around very frantically, meaning that they can usually take up entire rooms, so you'll definitely have to be careful of that. Furthermore, these entities aren't friendly, as they can be seen killing a player in the trailer. Now, this is quite interesting, as based on said trailer, there doesn't really seem to be a counter to the entity besides simply walking around it. This could imply that Batmoths start out as docile beings, but they can be aggravated later on by doing something, and I think I figured out what this may be. Throughout the trailer, there's always something which is showcased next to Batmoths, those being eggs. These eggs are directly linked to the Batmoths, and we know this as when a player dies to the entity, their body is covered in these eggs. I believe that the eggs are where the Batmoths came from, and stepping on them will aggravate the entity, forcing it to attack you. Stepping on them could also allow more Batmoths to spawn, which creates even more of a threat. However, that isn't all though, as based on the first teaser trailer, it appears that Batmoths have the ability to break lights, creating a dark environment which in turn leads to you having more trouble locating where the eggs are on the floor. Really, it appears that the entity is coded to make it more difficult for you to see the eggs, and when you step on them, they get angry and attack you. Now, something which I want to touch up on is what happens to a player when they die to a Batmoth. As I had previously described, when this happens, the player's body will become infested with these eggs, and this is pretty odd. As you might know, typically whenever a player dies to an entity, they'll just ragdoll, with the exception to this being dying to either figure or seek, which will cause the player to have a unique death animation. This could be the case with Batmoths, where the body being infested with eggs is merely visual. However, judging by how this entity is a minor one and not a boss, I feel as if this has a gameplay element to it. Just like how I stated how stepping on eggs on the ground will cause Batmoths to get angry and more may spawn, I believe the same thing would happen if you step on an egg-infested body. After all, there are eggs on the body, why wouldn't they be able to hatch into more Batmoths? Lastly, the final thing I want to discuss about this entity is how they can be avoided. As I just described, it seems to be first aggravated when you step on its eggs. This means that it is likely that the entity can be completely avoided if you simply don't bother its eggs. However, if you do step on the eggs, it appears you could just walk away from it in order to avoid being killed. However, you would still be affected by its damage. Overall, based on speculation thus far, the Batmoth appears to be a very interesting entity, and I can't wait for it to appear in the game. Let me know any of your theories about this entity in the comments, and with all of that being said, thank you all for watching and I hope you enjoyed.